Okay, so in this video we are going to solve this test, this exercise. This is the file you got on the first place, so the web page is already done. At least the desktop version is finished. Okay, it looks quite okay on desktop, but you have to add some functionality, and the functionality you need to add is basically add the functionality to these menu items showing the corresponding sections. Okay, you can do that with 5 or 6 lines of jQuery. Okay, and then you have some responsiveness, as you can see here. This will be the tablet view, and then when we hit this, we go into the mobile view where we hide the menu and we show and hide the menu by using this. We also need to, I don't know if you can see it, but the mark for the selected menu in the mobile version is on the right hand of each menu item. So let's go step by step, okay? Let's start with the section showing, okay? So I will open this on brackets. Let me zoom this a little bit. So, yeah, I'm recording. So you can see, yeah, we have all the sections there already. You can hide them if you want to have a smaller text, because this is just text, we don't have to show it. So I'm just compressing this for a moment. It's this one, right? So this is a whole web page. It's a small web page, not that fancy, and we have all these sections, okay? And if you look in the CSS, which I provided for you too, you will see that we are basically hiding all the sections, and then we are just showing the home section, the first section, okay? That's why from these 4 sections we are just able to see the first one when we first open the web page, and we don't have anything at the bottom, okay? If we would remove, let me save this just as temp, so we can remove this later on. And I will also, okay, I will undo the changes later on. So if you remove this piece of code, this one, you will be showing all the sections, right? So if you do this and I refresh the web page, not this one, but this temp, okay, you can see that now we are showing all the sections, okay? They are just stacked up there. So we want to hide all of them, and then just show the first one, and that's what hides the rest of the sections, okay? So what we have to do is just attach some functionality to these menu items, to these li items. I think there are li items, I don't remember. Let's check them out. Yeah, to this data. I even provide you this hint, okay? So this was just a hint of how could you relate those li items to the actual sections that they have to show, okay? So
that wouldn't work. We have to add the hashtag.
Yeah, okay, you have to add the hashtag. That's okay. Yeah, much work, I know. Yeah, but it was a hint. I did want you to give you a hint of how could you relate. So if you check that, the names are the same, okay? So yeah, if you want to treat this as an ID, you have to add the hashtag when you use this as a selector, okay? And we can do that in 2 different ways. So let's first start with the first. I even provide the jQuery already there, so you don't have to add jQuery yourself. You can start typing the code, okay? So before closing the body tag, I will open a script. And here I will write, I want to respond to the user clicking on any of these li items, right? So you can add an event listener to those li items. How do you do that? Well, just look for li items. It's the only li items we have on the web page, so we don't have to specify anything different. And then what? On click, you can copy this from any of the other exercises we have done so far. You don't even have to remember this. Let me put some enters here so you can see this more clearly on the top of the screen. So on click, execute this function, and that's it, right? So how do you inspect that this is working? Normally we just write something on the console. It works. So I will refresh this, open the console, and then click some of them. And as you can see here, it says it works. And if I click here, it displays it works again and again and again. So it's working, okay? At least the event listener is firing, and we are getting inside this function and typing this. So we don't need to type anything on the console. So what do we have to do? We need to get this variable, this data value, okay? How do we get this? With this data and then the name of the variable. So when you use the data value, you always need to write data hyphen, okay? That's mandatory. And then you write the name of the variable. This is free for you to choose. You can write anything you want there. No spaces, no strange symbols, you know that, okay? So I invented the variable sec out of section because I want to relate those, but I can name this any way I want, okay? So here you write the name of the variable, okay? If you want to see what you are getting here, you can either assign it to a variable and print it, or print it directly into the console, okay? So let's use again that console and just print this, okay? So we want to print this piece of code, okay? What I will expect to get here are these strings here. So home, products, services, and company, okay? Let's try that out. And I click here and I do get home. And if I click here, I get products and services and company. Okay, so it's working, right? Now, what else do I need? If you want to use this as a selector for selecting one of these sections, as Iran pointed out, you need to add the hashtag, right? So you could add it here, just concatenate it. I'm just concatenated a piece of string here, okay? So if I review this, now I will get hashtag home, hashtag products, hashtag services, hashtag company, okay? So what do I do with this? Well, to make this code more clear, I will create a variable named s, and I will assign this into that variable, okay? So now s is just a string, okay, containing one of these strings, okay? Is that clear enough? Yes. Then S will be our selector, the section we actually want to show, right? So first we need to hide the rest of the sections because we don't know which section was being shown before clicking any of these items, okay? And we don't need to know. We just need to hide all of them and show the selected one. That's the idea, okay? So how do you hide all the sections? You know how to do that, right? How would you actually hide all the sections? Well, select anything with the tag name section and hide it, right? And that's it. So now, it doesn't matter which li I click, I will be hiding all the sections, okay? And now, you just have to show this section, right? How do you do that?
Just whatever.
Well, select S. We can just write S because S is a string. So we can use a string as a selector, and the string already has the hashtag, okay? And then something like show, and that's it. That's pretty much it, okay? I also added a fading effect that we'll add in a minute, but the idea is do something like this. How many lines of code I have? And this line of code you can copy out from any other example. Okay, so you just need to type this. And if you want to rush me and write less code, we don't even need to write this piece of text because we can grab this code and type it here, right? And then we can get rid of this as well. Yes? I'm gonna let this in 2 steps so you can read it more clear, okay? But you could write all that in the same sentence, okay? So now this will work without the fading effect, but I can show products or services or company or again home. Okay? Let's add the fading effect. So instead of hiding the section, I want to hide them with a fading out effect. So hide, no, fade out. That's it. So now, as you can see, we are fading out the section, and then we are showing the section with a show. I don't want to show it like that. I want to show it with a fading effect. The problem is that you would expect kind of a cross-fading. That I would expect that, but it doesn't work like that. Because as you can see, it does fades out, but I don't see the fading in. Because the fading in was taking place while the fading out was also taking place. And at the end, it was just showing the final result of the fading in. So we need to kind of delay those events or wait a little bit. And I think I typed the delay hint on the blackboard for you guys while you were doing the test. So if you have never used the delay effect on jQuery, how would you learn how to use it? Well, you can just Google jQuery delay and then go to the jQuery API and see, okay, it sets a timer to delay an execution. That's exactly what I want to do, okay? How do you use it? Well, as you can see, you can chain up the effects. This is chaining, okay? So you can have one effect, then wait some milliseconds, and then execute some other effect. That's exactly what I need to. By default in jQuery, all the events take 400 milliseconds, okay? That means I have to wait for this fading out effect, 400 milliseconds, and then I want to show this fading effect, right? So you could write just a delay, and that's it. If you don't specify any value, it will take the default value of 400 milliseconds. And that's pretty much it. So now if you can see, it's fading out. Let's wait a little bit more for it to finish. Okay? So now it looks more smooth, right? It's fading out. The fading in is just waiting for the fading out to finish. Okay? And then it will trigger the fading in of the corresponding section. Yes? Does that make sense? Too difficult? I don't think so, really. Maybe this, but if you did everything else correctly and you just missed the delay, I also give you the full points because I was gentle. Okay. Now there's another thing missing, which is this red bar should show the current section. Okay. So again, here on the Lee items, you have the class selected. So you just need to change that selected class to the selected Lee. Okay, how do we do that? We need to, remove the selected class from all the Lees. Yeah. So select all the Lee elements and remove the class selected, right? So this will remove this red bar from this element as soon as I click on any item, even on this same item, right? So if I click again home, this should be remove class. Yeah, why is it not working? I don't know if I refresh it. So if it's not working as expected, you can always inspect this and check if it's actually removing this class selected, because this is the thing we want to remove, right? So Lee, and then if I click here, of course it's not removing this class selected. Why? Selected, right? Okay, so selected. I have a typo there. Okay, so selected. So even if I click the first one, it should remove that selected class from that item because it's a Lee at the end. Okay, that's good. That's what I wanted to do. And if I click here, I would as well remove this one, but I have to add it now to these services, okay? So how do you add it, or to which one you want to add it? Yes. To the clicked one. And how do you know which Lee I clicked? You can know that with the this keyword, okay? So the this is actually pointing to the Lee that was actually clicked, okay? So I have several Lees I can click on. And if I look for this will point to the clicked Lee, okay? So add class, selected, and that's it. Okay, so now if I click here, you can see that I get that class there, or products, or company, and that's pretty much it. Okay? Any questions up to now? No. So we are finished with the, well, we still need the jQuery part for toggling the mobile menu, okay? And that's it for the jQuery part of the test, okay? Let's start with the responsive so we can show that hamburger menu and add the functionality to it, okay? So my breakpoints, just 2 breakpoints, okay? This is tablet view, this is mobile view, this is desktop view, which we have already finished because the web page is already designed thinking desktop first, if you want to call it like that, okay? And we have to change this because if you open this on a tablet, let's look at it on a tablet. This is how it looks like. And if you open it on a cell phone, this is how it looks like. So it's zooming out the web page, yeah? You can see that the whole website is being zoomed out. How do we prevent the browser from zooming out the web page?
Viewport.
We need the meta viewport for that, okay? That's what it is for. And I remove that from the head, so you don't have that meta viewport. You need to add it. Do you need to type it by heart, the meta viewport? Who can type it by heart? I have been doing web pages for almost 15 years and I still cannot type it by heart, and I don't care, okay? And you don't need to type it by heart. You always can go to Google, just look meta viewport, and copy it from anywhere, okay? So I go here, and I copy it, and that's it. And I just paste it. It is important, though, to paste it before the styles, okay? So I just put it here, and now if I refresh this, and I'm getting a shared view here, it's not zooming out, okay, because I still have that wrapper meta viewport. It should zoom out, so this is due to the cache of the web page. I will open this on a, yeah. So as you can see, here is a cache problem. You know, the cache memory is a memory the browser has to try to help you load web pages faster. So it knows that you already have those CSS on the cache memory of the browser. And to prevent this from happening, you can click Command-Shift-R for refreshing the web page, erasing the cache. It's not working right now. I'm not sure why. But what I did was just to open an incognito window there. And with the incognito window, you don't save the cache, or you don't save anything on the cache, okay? So as you can see, I'm not zooming the web page anymore, and I'm displaying the web page at 100%, okay, with the meta viewport. Okay, that's what I needed or wanted to happen. Now, I do need to make some changes to this, because as you can see here, not here or here, but here, you can see that as soon we have a container, if you inspect the CSS, you will find that the container, the wrapper, the main wrapper is 1120 pixels wide. That's why I set the breakpoint, the bigger breakpoint at 1120, okay? Because if my wrapper is 1120 and I am displaying this on a device which has a viewport less than 1120, then I will get the horizontal scroll bar, and I don't want that, okay? So as soon as the browser hits a size lower than 1120, I should make some changes to that big wrapper, okay? And you can see those changes actually going on exactly at the 120, okay? So I did that a couple of times, I think. So as you can see, as soon as I hit the 1120 here, some things are changing, okay? And the wrapper is not anymore 1120 pixels wide, okay? So actually we just need to change the wrapper and I think a few other things, but not that much. So we need to write our responsive rules, okay? Our media queries. So at media, you can't write screen, you don't need to, because you can leave that to the default value, which will be screen, which will be all, okay? So we just need to type max with 1120 pixels, right? Yeah. And what we need to change is the wrapper. The width of the wrapper should be 100%, okay? So now, if you refresh this, you will see that I cannot see it. Maybe if I zoom out. No, it's the same. So let me lose this. You can see that as soon as we click this, instead of having that horizontal scroll bar, if we erase this, what we will have is a horizontal scroll bar there, right? Because we are keeping the wrapper at 1120 pixels wide, so we need to horizontally scroll it if we want to show all the content, okay? But as soon as you write this, the wrapper will adapt to 100% of the viewport, and we don't have any horizontal scrolling there, okay? So that's the first change, and I think that's the only change you need to do for tablet. That's it, okay? Now, let's move to the next breakpoint, which is less than 670 pixels wide, okay? So we need to write another media query, 2 media queries for the test, which is not much, I hope. Max width 670, right? So what should change here at 670? Now I can use this thing to show you the values here. Why 670? Because I found out that at 670 pixels wide is when I actually start overlapping these two items, okay? So this Lee item will start to overlap the main icon, as you can see there, at roughly 670 pixels, okay? So more or less there. It's a good place to break this apart. Probably before that, because as you can see, I'm losing part of this image maybe here. So maybe the breakpoint should be something bigger, like 768 or something like that. But anyway, I ask you to write that breakpoint at 670, okay? So what should change? Well, many things right now. I have to first hide this menu, right? So this is a UL, the only UL there, so you can write something like, UL display none. So this will hide this menu, as you can see, at 670, right? So it's just hiding the menu, nothing else. That's good. And these things shouldn't be floating anymore, okay? So let's inspect that piece of code here. Those are on each section. We have call 1 and call 2, and we also have call. And the call is responsible for floating those columns, right? So if you move to the CSS and you inspect those calls there, you can see that the call class is what is actually floating the stuff. And then call 1 is just setting the width to 40%, and call 2 is just setting the width to 60%, okay? If you check this carefully in the video, you will see that we start to have some space here in the mobile and also in the tablet version. So we don't want the text to be flush to the sides of the design, as we do now. You can see that this is flush to the sides. We want to have some space on the right and left part of the screen. That means we don't want this to add to 100% as we have here, okay? It should be a little bit smaller than the 100% of the container, right? So how do we do that? Well, first of all, let's prevent those calls from floating. So we have a class named call, and we don't want that to float anymore. Float none, okay? So what this will do, the columns are no longer floating as soon as you have a device less than 670, okay? Does that make sense? The size is still too short because this column is still for 40% of the viewport, and this one is still 60% of the viewport, okay? This is call 1, class call 1, and this is class call 2, okay? So what we need to is just say, yeah, call 1 and call 2. We don't want them to be 40 and 60% wide. We want it to be, you can write something like, I don't know, something in the less than 100%, and then margin 0 auto to center them, right? And that's it. As you can see right now, we have a small space. If we put this at 100%, we will be flush to the size, as you can see there. Okay? So we want to leave some space there, maybe something in the 4% there could work. Okay? So the narrower the screen size, the narrower the space you have there. Okay? And that's good. If you want to have a fixed space, let's say you want to have always 60 pixels on each side, how would you do that? Because right now we have 2% on the left and 2% on the right, okay? Meaning that this will decrease while we decrease the size, and this will increase, as you can see. I don't know if you can see that. Let's do that more notorious. So 90%, meaning 5% on each side. So you can see that that size is decreasing. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah? If we don't want that to happen, and we want to have a fixed space of 16 pixels, which is the standard, on the left and the right side, how would you actually do that? It's not that easy, because you need to make some calculations to what the size of the viewport is. But you can make those calculations on CSS. So you could do something like this. Calc, subtract from the 100%, 60 pixels on the right and 60 pixels on the left, add to 32 pixels, right? And that works. So with that done, you can see that this space is not changing at all. Okay, it's always 16 pixels. Yeah, you see the difference? Okay, so you can also do that with some calculations. You can do any calculation on CSS, subtraction, addition, multiplication, or division. Just make sure you leave those white spaces between the operands so the CSS can tell them apart. Okay, if I write something like this, this won't work. Okay, and this is an error, and as you can see, it's not applying that rule at all because it doesn't recognize this as a valid operation. So you need to leave a space, a blank space, on both sides of each of the operands. Okay? Okay, I will leave this like that, and we do want some space here. Okay, this is the col 1, right? So we can add the col 1 some margin top. Let's say 80 pixels. So we now have some nice space there. Maybe that's too much. Yeah, and that's working okay. Okay. So we have this. It doesn't matter which section we are showing. Okay. It will always work. Okay. Because those are class names. Yep. Any questions up to now? No? So now the hamburger menu. I remove that hamburger menu from here, so you need to add it. Okay, but the hamburger menu is on the images folder. So there you have it. This is the hamburger menu. So we need to add it somewhere inside the header. Where? Really doesn't matter, because then with CSS we are going to position it at the right side of the header, right? So by convention, as it will come more or less after the UL, I will add it here. But it doesn't really matter, okay? So it's an image, source, image A, hamburger menu, and then I will give it an ID to play with it in jQuery of menu, okay? To make it sure. Right now it will be displayed all the time, okay? Because it's being added. So now I will be able to see it all the time there, and it's a huge menu, right? So no matter what happens, it will always be there. So I need to write some CSS rules for it to show on the right side of the screen and at the right size, okay? So let's play with it a little bit. It's inside the header. So if we go to the CSS, we have the header, and the header already has a position relative. So we can use a position absolute for positioning on the right side of the header, right? So we can do something like header menu, right? We are going to change its width to, let's say, 60 pixels to make it smaller. So now it's more or less a good size. The standard for a clickable item for mobile, it should be bigger than 40 pixels. Because if you have a menu or something that is clickable, less than 40 pixels, let's say 20 pixels, and I have fat fingers, it will be quite hard to actually target it. So something around bigger than 36, 38 pixels on the width, it's the standard measure, okay? So let's make it 50 pixels. It's good size right there. And then write 0, that will paste it to the right part with a position absolute, of course. Stick it to the right, and then a little bit top, let's say 10 pixels. A little bit more here, 10 pixels as well. Maybe if I'm picky, 12 or 14. I'm not too picky with that when I'm grading, but you get the idea. Okay, so now we have that menu, but it's showing all the time, right? We don't want to show it all the time, so let's hide it at the beginning, display none, and let's just show it when we are on a mobile phone, meaning here, right? So, menu, display block. And that's it. So now it's hidden, and as soon as I hit the mobile menu, this should work. Is it menu?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a good example of why it's not working. Okay, why is it not working? It should work, but it's not working. If I inspect the code here and I look for the menu, which is here, and I select it, you are going to see that it did try to display it, but this rule was overridden by this one. Why? Why is this happening? If you check it, if you check it, this rule comes after this one. So remember my horrible drawing about the cascade on the CSS, and I told you the closer to the content a rule is, the higher the priority. So this rule is closer to the element, so it should be higher in priority, but it's not. As you can clearly see there, this is taking more priority than this one. Why? Because of the specificity of the rule. I was more specific here because I wrote header menu than here that I just wrote menu. If you want to overwrite a rule, you should be at least as specific as the rule you wrote on the first place. Okay? So, and of course you can write the important, as you were correctly mentioning. The important keyword is for actually giving more hierarchy or priority to this rule. But it's not really a good practice. It's more like a hack, and I don't recommend to use it. It will work, okay, for sure. As you can see, because I wrote important, now this is showing up. So this will be hidden there and shown there, okay? But the correct way to do it, instead of writing important there, will be to be as specific as in the other rule, okay? And that will also fix it, as you can see, without the need of writing the important keyword there, okay? Now we need to add some functionality to it. We just want to show or hide the Lee menu right there, okay? As soon as we click the hamburger menu. So let's add that functionality here. So it's another CLI event. So because I'm lazy, I will just copy this here, paste it here. And I don't want to listen to the click on the Lee, but on the menu, right? Again, let's write something on the console. Yes, it works. Just to check that out. It's always a good idea to do that, okay, before doing anything else. So now I click here and I get that yes, it works. Yeah, I knew it, but I wanted to show you that it works, okay? So you can, what's the thing I hide? I hide the UL, right? So you want to show the UL, okay? So just look for the UL. Sorry, it's a tag name. And you could use the show event, but the problem is that you will be showing this, but you are not going to hide it anymore. You can use the toggle for that. Sorry. Oh, come on. Toggle. So the toggle shows it or hides it, okay, just as a switch. But we want to add some nice effect to it and slide toggle, okay? So now we are showing it or hiding it with this nice sliding effect. And now we need to change the way that Li item is displayed because we don't want it to show there, okay? And for doing so, we also need to change our CSS, right? Just on the mobile version, okay? So let's inspect that for a minute. Here, we have that UL, which has a position absolute. We probably don't want a position absolute anymore. We want it to be more free, if you mind the expression, okay? And we have some Li items there, which have a fixed width. We also want to give that more, we want to leave that more free to adapt to the size of the container, right? So let's make all those changes there. And if you inspect the header has a fixed height. And we also don't want that header to have a fixed height, because that header should be able to grow or shrink depending of the content it has, right? Does that make sense? More or less. How do we get rid of this fixed height for the header? How do we get rid of this? We don't want it to have a fixed height. So what do we do? Let's make a pause here. That big jump here. You have the code I wrote. I wrote many things, but I will give you the code as well. I forgot to restart the recording. Sorry about that. And you get the jQuery here. So this is what I wrote, in case I missed something. And this is all the CSS. So this is the mobile version, okay? I don't want to change the color, so I don't need to rewrite this rule. I don't want to change the height. I don't want to change the line height. I just want to change this, right? I don't want to have a border top. So border top none. And I now want to have a border right. Okay? So this will change this border from there to there, or it should. It's there. So the problem is that I set the width of this element to be 100%. And then to that 100%, I am adding that right border, okay? So I should remove that. Maybe instead of 100%, if the border is 5 pixels width, I should subtract that. I could do that with a calculation, as I just showed you. But maybe I can also move this to 96, so I can have some space for that bar, okay? And this still works. I don't need to change anything. Okay, the line height for the selected is changing to, where is that selected? I do have a line height of 80, meaning that it's messing up with the height I set up here. No, it's not. Yeah, it's messing with this 60. So that's what you told 80. You were correct there. So this should be 80. Okay? So note here. This is the lead. Yeah, 80. But I also want to keep that line height. I have a... Where do I have that? Least selected. So I have a height and line height on the selected one. I probably should have that there as well, because I don't want that to move. Okay? And I think that's it. Okay, this took a little bit longer than I expected, just this menu item, and moving this UL and this Li element was a mess because of the way it was positioned at the first place. Okay? So figuring this out was a little bit harder, right? All these measures and the things you need to reset. If you go back to the normal view, it will go back to normal. Okay, if you refresh the web page, of course, because I slide that out. And I think that's it. Okay, so we have that menu. The menu is working because we didn't move anything there. We just need to hide that. And one final thing that I will add to this design, and I will end the class with this. Maybe it will be a good idea, as soon as the user clicks on any item, just hide the menu again, okay? Because otherwise the user needs to hide the menu manually, okay? So how do we do that? Well, we'll just go here, and anytime we slide toggle the menu, anytime we select any of the menus we want to hide or slide, again, slide toggle this menu, right? So if you just copy this and paste it here, right, this will work because now it doesn't matter which one I click, this will also hide a menu. Maybe if I'm picky, I would like to wait a little bit for this menu to hide, to show the user that we selected another item and then we hide the menu. We can do that with a delay, right? So maybe almost half a second. So now you will see the change and then it will hide. It's subtle, but it adds some good user experience to the user. Okay, I will stop the video here.